and welcome to this week's episode of Unconditional Self-Love with myself, Tilly Reid. I hope you are well. I'm doing well. I'm currently right in the middle of a show right now, so I think my voice sounds a little bit croaky, but we're going to go with it. It's always a bit of a crazy week, show week. I mean, you don't sleep as much as you normally do because you go to bed later because you have a show and then you need to wind down. And it's all a bit, sort of circadian rhythm gets a little bit messed up. But it's all good. I'm dealing with it. But today, I wanted to have a little chat about joy. I know I chat about joy at the end of these episodes and I just say 3 things that have brought me joy. And I just want to maybe go into a little bit more depth about it. It was something that was my main focus, I think. The word joy was like something that I thought, I need more of that. Where do I get more of that in my life? So I looked up joy. And what does it mean? It means an emotion of intense happiness, deep well-being, and contentment. I mean, don't we all want a little bit of that? Intense happiness. Oh, yes, please. Deep well-being and contentment. I mean, tick to all 3. Yes, please. It's a roller coaster. And I think that's just what life is like, naturally. You're on this roller coaster. But I went through a time when I thought I'd lost my joy. I just felt flat. And I remember I was like, there's nothing particularly majorly wrong. For a while, I just didn't feel that intense happiness that comes with joy. I'd had bouts of depression when I was younger and being on medication with that and come off medication with that. Sort of went around the houses thinking, trying to find things that are going to make me happy and go, what's going to make me happy? I have no idea what's going to make me happy. Thinking it was certain things and then discovering it's actually not. And, you're thinking, when I get this, I'm going to be happy. When I get this, I'm going to be happy. I mean, maybe you've said that too. I think we've all said it to some degree. When I get that house, I'll be happy. When I get that job, I'll be happy. When I get that career that I've always wanted, I'll be happy. And I remember being in a situation when I was in a job I didn't particularly like. Life's okay, friends, yes. I was living in a space, I was in a shared accommodation that I didn't particularly like. And I remember it was the start of something because I remember thinking to myself, if I could find joy now, in this space, I've cracked it. Because, reading stuff, I saw that it says, joy is an inside job. It doesn't matter what you've got externally. Joy is, comes from within and, all these small things. And I was just like, well, really? Does it? And a lot of the time I didn't believe that. But I thought, well, let's see what happens. Because I'm in a situation where it's not necessarily really bad. Certainly not bad in many ways. But it wasn't my ideal living or, situation. So I knew I had to do something about it, and that sort of kicked off my spiritual path. It started with, crazy curiosity. I just read, listened to, started following people on Instagram that I'd never followed before. People that were talking about this stuff, people that were talking about self-love and self-care. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. There was this whole world that just opened to me. And very, very slowly, gradually over time, those little pockets of joy came back. And I remember being like, Oh, yes, I've cracked it. I've cracked the code, the code of living. Yeah, as we know, life isn't as easy as that. Life isn't as easy, it isn't just you don't just get this manual and then you crack it at the end. It's like, nope, life happens, stuff happens. And that was an amazing time in my life. And I definitely went on this quite rapid trajectory into like feeling sometimes euphoric, sometimes this just amazing sense of well-being where I was just like, wow, I feel high minus the drugs. Like generally just was like, whew, I just felt, amazing. And from that, I ended up getting a job that I really liked. I ended up moving into my own flat. Just so many things kind of happened off the back of this, which sort of created this space of joy. And yeah, and I mean, it's that sort of feeling in your body where you just, it's almost really hard to pinpoint, isn't it? Because I mean, maybe it feels different for everybody, but it's just this warmth. Sometimes you might get this little gentle tingle. You might just, I don't know, you might want to just jump around a bit or smile, or it's just a feeling of this inner peace, that all is well. All is well with the world, and, it's okay, and you feel fulfilled. I mean, now I'm having, there's other challenges as I'm getting older, as a perimenopausal woman. There's certainly challenges with that, and trying to keep on top of my, that feeling, and kind of cultivating that feeling, is more challenging. Definitely with some of the perimenopausal symptoms, the irritability and the rage, for one. I mean, they are just a delight. But I am aware that the things that I do, that they do help me, and I think sometimes they can feel really small, but they're probably making a bigger difference than you can imagine. So yeah, joy has always been something that I've thought about in my life. It's always been one of my values, to seek joy, to find joy, to have more moments of joy. Because we create them by having these simple everyday moments, and I mean, what can that look like? That can look like making your coffee in the morning, taking that moment, making it a ritual if you want, smelling the coffee beans, it's about creating this space. It's maybe going for a walk, but instead of putting your headphones on, you just listen and you just watch. Maybe you sit down on a bench and just watch the world go by. Like, I love doing that. That brings me so much joy. Maybe it's a moment with your pet. Just having a little moment while they, my cat sits there and purrs. It's great. It is all those things. And then it's not necessarily the big things. I think we can sometimes overthink it and be like, oh, it needs to be this amazing event, this big night out, this, achieving this thing. And it's not. It's so much more simpler than that. It is the really small everyday things that you do. It's the self-care that you do as well. How you look after yourself. Do you eat well? Do you exercise? Do you sleep? Do you drink water? Do you not drink as much coffee in the afternoon? Do you not drink as much alcohol? Do you do things like meditate or breath work or journal or, all these things, they're not groundbreaking. Let's face it, we all know about them. They're all out there. We all know about them. We have a wealth of information. But sometimes we can look for that big thing to kind of fix us. That big, maybe it's a pill and something else to fix us. When actually it is about stripping it back to basics to find your joy. It's those small intentional habits. That's a really key word there. Intentional habits. Because we've all got habits, let's face it, good and bad. Ones that you just get sucked into. Maybe it's being on your phone. Maybe it's, I don't know, not eating well. But we do have good ones as well that you might not even realize that you already do, like cleaning your teeth every day. That's a habit that, I do twice a day, every single day, and they do help. And all, the stuff you do in the morning or the stuff you do before you go to sleep, these are all really small intentional habits. Maybe it's your energy management, and how you conserve your energy and look after yourself. I know for me this week, it's a bit of a crazy week. I go from doing nothing to suddenly being in a show, which has got full of adrenaline and, all these other things going on and nerves going on. And I have to bring myself back down and calm my nervous system back down. So I know for me this week, I need to take extra care in looking after myself. I need to make sure I'm really eating properly, make sure I'm drinking lots of water, because also it is a very sweaty theatre that we're in. It's very hot. But it is about that awareness. And so, what do we do? I mean, how do you even start? I know for me, like I said, and it's a very personal journey. I got incredibly curious about discovering, it's this self-discovery. Just find in yourself what brings you joy and notice it and be aware of it. Awareness is often kind of the beginning to a lot of this stuff, because when you have that self-awareness, you start to notice how things feel in your body and you go, oh, that feels nice, or that doesn't feel right. You notice it so much. Like, I notice when things don't feel right, and sometimes I don't even know why they don't feel right. But that's not for me to decide sometimes. I have to just trust that feeling. And, the opposite, you have to trust that joyful feeling. It's like, oh, this is something that's good. What is it? Oh, it's this thing. Okay, I'm going to do more of that. Maybe add it to a list. It's always really good to have a joy list or a joy playlist. I do actually have a happy playlist that I listen to, and it's got all those songs that just make me either want to sing or dance. You just put them on and they just make you feel amazing. Maybe they're ones from like your past. I often find that, the songs that are from when you were a teenager, they can bring me so much joy. It's often about embracing new things. We can get caught up in the habits of life, going through the motions, staying in our comfort zone, but actually stepping out of that comfort zone and just, maybe not too much, just doing some new things. I mean, how amazing do you feel when you go on holiday and you're in a new city and you're trying new things and you're going to new places? Like, it feels amazing, doesn't it? You're like, I feel so refreshed. So do that in your city. Maybe go to a museum that you've not been to. Maybe go to the theatre. Maybe go do something that you wouldn't normally do, because novelty is a real big one here. What else is a really good thing? To forge deep connections. We know how important community is and the people around us are. What did I say last week? We are something to do with we are the common denominator in 5 friends. That's not it, but you get my gist. Forge those deep friendships. Meet up one-to-one with friends and have those deep conversations. Share stuff. Be vulnerable. There's nothing more joyful than, for me, is going for a coffee with a friend and just sharing, everything that's going on with our lives. yeah, so it's about that self-discovery and awareness. And also remember that joy whispers. It doesn't shout. We can often think, I think this comes with this expectation that joy is these big things, these big amazing gestures and big events and, and oh my God, yeah, I'm going to do this thing and it's going to be amazing. And it probably will be. But it's those little things. It's those little moments when joy just whispers to you and goes, I'm okay. I'm peaceful. I'm, what did I say earlier? I have intense happiness, deep well-being and contentment. So I'm going to leave that with you. I'm going to leave you to find your own joy journey, because it's not going to look the same as me, but just start to be aware. Just start to notice those little moments, those little pockets of joy that just creep up and go, oh, I like that. What is that? Maybe write it down and then do more of it. Keep it really, really simple. And honestly, the more you do these, the more joy that you create in your life. And I'm not, I'm certainly not saying that life is going to be joyful from now on. Absolutely not. But it just creates those little pockets of joy. So I'm going to leave that with you. So have a lovely week, everyone, and I'll speak to you next week. Hello, and welcome to my 3 joys of the week. Since we're already talking about joy, let's have some more joy. So this week, what have we got? For me, it's performing in a new show. There is something very joyful about just its novelty. Like I was saying earlier, it's novelty of a new show it brings me a lot of joy. Getting on stage and acting in front of friends that come to see me brings me lots of joy. Number 2, petting my purring cat. Yeah, she just brings me loads of joy anyway. Maybe you've got a pet too and they bring you joy. They're just joyful little things. And literally putting my ear to her belly when she's purring is just the best sound. I feel like I've said this one before, but I don't care. I'm going to say it again. And my 3rd one is having a day off. Do you know, having the day off when you have absolutely nothing planned, which is tomorrow for me. And I don't think I plan on leaving the couch. I've worked or done something for the last, I think 4 weeks now. Yeah. So I am well in need of a couch day, and there will be absolutely no guilt. I may even order a takeout, but I'm going to enjoy this day off, and I mean a real day off. So come with me, enjoy a day off if you can. So I'll speak to you next week. Bye.